Hi, welcome back to Dial of Twang. I'm Dave. So this lesson we're going to break down this 2-5 progression in G. Sorry, the G major. Though there's not a G chord in it, right? So the chords are A minor, okay. I think it holds it for 2 measures each time. Then I just put a little uh, conga loop in there just to give a little bit of feel. But I wanted to keep that loop real simple on this too, because I really want to focus on this idea of using a couple of kind of, I don't like to call them rules, but guardrails, I call them, to really practice this Mixolydian scale and mode and sound. Really is what the right way to refer to it, right? Flavor of that Mixolydian, especially over that 5 chord. Okay, that flat 7. Okay, so real quick, just how we get the 2-5 out of this. Why is it? Why is the progression 2-5? Well, if we go with the G major scale, okay, the do re mi scale for G, and we just count up those degrees to those numbers. So 1, the root. Now, if you did all the work on a whole key study, which we'll have to do sometime, it's kind of one of those things that's kind of easier, I guess, maybe to write down. I'm a real kind of show me kind of learner, and that's how this channel works. But there is kind of a neat, a real reliable way that you can kind of chart out how you get the chords out of these chord families. But for today, we'll just have to take my word and a lot of others word for it that the 2 chord is minor in a major key. So this sounds right, doesn't it? So that's the roots based on the 2nd degree, the 2 chord, A minor. And if we count up to keep going up to where we get to the 5. Okay, and same thing. If you did the math and everything on that, you'd come out with a dominant 7th chord, a major chord with a flatted 7th. Okay, so when I say Mixolydian mode, what you get is the notes that are in that G major scale, but starting and ending on D. So you got to stretch that G octave out to be more than 1 octave, right? The river of G, that's what we call it on Dial of Twang, right? Each key, each scale is a river. It's not just a stick that has it can be segmented like that by definition, but when you're playing, it expands in both directions. Does that make sense? Like if you're in the center of a piano, it goes in and out. You gotta think of a guitar that way. So if we think of that river of G, but we start and end on D, we get that Mixolydian sound, okay? And some of you want to do a little bit of experimentation, and kind of, really get into this. Play that G. And figure out where, get that sound in your ear and then start stopping and starting on different tones. Those are the modes. You're doing it. There's no mystery to it after that, right? I think sometimes it gets thrown around and it's so overwhelming that everybody's just like, what's going on with the modes or whatever. Well, this is a good place to start because especially if you play a lot of rock and popular, styles of music on your guitar, or any other instrument too, but certainly with guitar, this Mixolydian is just like a staple of so much rock music. So I want to get to the playing part here. Thanks for bearing with me through that. But I want to give you explanations every now and then. I don't do this with every lesson, but sometimes I'll spend a couple minutes there at the beginning, kind of, firming up our theory. So here's our routine on this. I'm going to demonstrate it real quick, and then I'll just break it down for you real quick. Let me see where we are. Okay, so guardrails, yes, that's good. We want to you want to have a chance to really learn that scale and get it in your ear, and not just be trying to do like the 5 greatest licks ever done in Mixolydian. That stuff's cool, but it's not you're trying to jump over too many steps to just play those licks, right? And well, let's say the best of both worlds. I don't like to, critique other methods. That, do some of that, but do some of this kind of real fundamental stuff too. Even at a more intermediate level, it'll still help you. So, 2 scales, and I'm kind of switching them back and forth. This is my routine for this one, is to do A minor pentatonic blues scale stuff over that A minor. So. Okay, everybody's familiar with. Okay, and other variations of that, other shapes, as they're often called, of that. Okay, this, if you're still dealing mainly in here, don't worry. So is B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan. There's no. These aren't the beginning scales, and then we're going to learn the real ones later. No, this is it. So, this is a great place to be. All right. Then when it switches to that 5 chord, that D dominant 7. Dominant 7 just means the flat 7 of a major chord with a flat 7. Okay, it's that real bluesy major sound. Okay. We're going to use the D Mixolydian. Okay. Now, the way you can start off on this is just be real deliberate. Start on the root of D. And just go in order. And what I'm doing is really just kind of playing like quarter notes, I guess. When I get to that, just kind of climbing straight up and down, and then I'm doing a little bit of back and forth on it, as you get more comfortable, and you end up with something like this. We'll wait for it to come around. That's that D, D7, A minor pentatonic, D Mixolydian. One of the first real kind of musical things you can do here is kind of falling back into that A minor pentatonic after you do that more modal sound. Do stuff you're real comfortable with in that blues scale. Okay. Towards the end of that demo, and just then, I may have, started to kind of, after you get comfortable with all of that, with just kind of alternating between those two, respective to those two chords. That's the routine, right? Those are the guardrails. Then, kind of swap them out. Well, maybe I'll play some of those Mixolydian notes over that A minor. That'll work out too, because it's all in the same river. But when you have a routine like that that is real defined, how it switches you back and forth, you really feel and hear the depth and the difference of those modalities playing over that progression. Okay, but I don't want you to get the impression that that scale will only work over the A minor and the other one. It's not that. It's that it just sets you up for like more interesting exploration and choices. That routine, okay. And then, I was doing I said to start on the root a lot of the D, and that's a good idea just to get that, going at first if you're not really used to that sound, and just to, get some muscle memory going on where those notes are, right? And use your ear just as much as you do the diagrams and things. But also, start on the third or the fifth. So chords that are notes that are part of that triad of that D major. 1, 2, 3. Okay. A couple times I started here. You get that kind of creepy. I love that creeping around feeling and sound of that Mixolydian. And that's just real open and free sounding then. Get some really nice tension and release just from that routine, just from kind of, directing yourself towards those, two kind of assigned ideas for each one of those chords, okay? And then as always, if it starts to feel one-dimensional or whatever, go ahead and, venture out and do other things and kind of, make more rhythmic, distinctions and differences and choices as you go and things like that. Hold some of the notes, put some bends in there. If you notice on that Mixolydian, I started whenever I had often. Doesn't have to be. I like to do it when there's just a 1 fret difference. Well, it's just but you could start playing around with bending up to some of the notes in that scale. Either way, the important thing here is to let your ear guide you and then get that muscle memory going. And the more comfortable you get, the more musical your playing is going to get, because you can kind of zone out from that intellectualizing it and really start to, make more emotional choices, right? So, let me know how you do on this, all right? I'll be looking out for you. Talk to you next time.